I think if each of us is responsible in our lives and as we move forward in our organizations and our communities, I think honestly we'll make a big difference.
Everybody's talking about digital health, AI. What are your thoughts on that?
Do I see a world where human beings are gone and AI and machines replace everything? I really don't.
What are the next few years of Metropolis going to look like, and what is on the horizon for you? I have with me today Ameera Shah. Ameera is the promoter and executive chairperson of Metropolis Healthcare. So wonderful to have you with us, Ameera, today, this morning. I just wanted to check with you, how do you manage it all? There is so much that you do, and you scaled a very large organization, that also in a really difficult area like healthcare.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here and chatting. Look, I think many entrepreneurs have done it. It's not something that any one-off person has done. I think we all have built our businesses. We've all brought up families. We've all hopefully played a role in industry, shaping policy as well, doing other things, giving back to society. So I think it's a part of everybody's journey in different degrees, I would say. For me, life is more interesting, frankly, when I'm doing and juggling multiple things. I think it would be quite boring if it was only more of the same. So yeah, very much enjoying all facets of it, really.
And there's so much to do in India. There is pollution, air, water, and food. And we need to handle a whole bunch of these things to actually stay healthy. And the best part is that a lot of people don't seem to understand that we need to do preventive health checkups. On the other hand, in India, we have this perspective that we only need to do testing once we are in. How do we change all that? How can we be a Viksit Bharat with such a massive health crisis on our hands?
I mean, I think part of that change will actually happen through corporates and through individuals like yourself and others. And I think as we start to make changes in our own lives, where we realize that what we are putting into our body, whether it's the air, the water, the food, unfortunately, we can't take for granted in India that it's of high quality. And we need to be careful about it. We need to be aware of it. Or how do we use air, purifiers in their rooms when they sleep, or we do it for ourselves. I think as we become more conscious to do that at home, and we realize that our bodies need that self-care, we'll start to check what's happening inside our bodies. We'll start to find out, hey, every 3 months, what's going on? Am I in good shape? Is something not going well? This annual health checkup doesn't have to be annual. It's like, it can be twice a year. It can be 3 times a year, depending on what you feel you need and how ill you are or what your family history is. Or even if you're not ill and you just want to be knowing. So I think that education starts with the individual, it then goes to the family, it then goes to the community, and it goes to your organization. I often see, even in corporate India, if you see the organized workforce, unfortunately, the letter is there, but not the spirit. I often see large organizations that say, I want to do an annual checkup for my employees. And then they will negotiate with the unorganized player and pay the cheapest amount of money to do the cheapest health checkup because they want to show everybody कि मैंने किया है. But it's not done in spirit of the way it should be done. So I think if each of us is responsible in our lives and as we move forward in our organizations and our communities, I think honestly we'll make a big difference.
But somewhere I feel, Ameera, the education about healthcare in tier 2, tier 3 cities has a long way to go. So while, we can talk about healthcare in tier 1 cities, and the market really has exploded, how do we do that in tier 2, tier 3? And do you have any plans in your organization to expand in those areas as well?
So we are across large number of tier 2 and tier 3. We're actually in 750 cities and towns across India. So yes, across many regions. But again, you see corporates are all in tier 2, tier 3 towns as well, either with their customers, either with their employees. So they all have a sphere of influence as well. I think the important part is that people have to take that mandate and actually say that, look, I want to make a change. This is not up for only health organizations to do. It's not only for government to do. It's actually for us as a society to do. Because the reality is that all this affects all of us, regardless of what we do at work. There might be somebody in financial services or something else, but you're still breathing the same air, you're still eating the same food, you're still falling sick to say.
It's a massive equalizer.
It is.
It is.
Absolutely is. And we saw that during COVID, didn't we? And we saw that while, yes, if you had money and access, you got a little bit more benefit. But at the end of the day, when beds were short, they were short for everybody. So, I think it's in our interest as a society to do something about it and to take it seriously and to spread the awareness all across. As an industry, as companies, we are all doing it anyway. But, we're a small part of the pie. It's not going to happen alone by just a few of us doing it.
So if you were to redesign the entire healthcare sector, okay, or maybe just the diagnostic sector, what would you keep? What would you modify? What would you completely reimagine?
I think the first thing is, if you genuinely believe that the health of your society is really the wealth of your society, if you really believe that, which I do, because you don't have healthy individuals, you don't have productive individuals, you can forget about economic GDP. So I think that's the first step, right? Now, for that to happen, you need to create an ecosystem where there is trust. You need to create an ecosystem which is aligned, which is integrated. So I would make 2-3 changes. Number one, if you see the healthcare ecosystem that's there today, it's operating without any minimum standards, without any regulation, without anything.
Without minimum standards?
Without minimum standards. There is no minimum standard. In healthcare, there is no minimum standard. To enter the industry, you need to follow certain rules and laws and requirements. There are a bunch of random rules and laws which are across different spheres, but actually there's nothing that you say that, if I want to open a lab, what do I have to do? That doesn't exist. Or if I want to open a hospital, what do I have to do? You have to search the 50,000 myriad laws that may be applicable to you, but you don't really know. So I think that it needs more structure around the minimum standard landscape. Now, even if that's on paper, the reality is there's zero enforcement on the ground. So today you have therefore all kinds of players in the industry who enter with a bad intent, who want to make only money without offering the right service to patients and doctors. And unfortunately, we allow that to proliferate when we don't enforce the rules. So that's the first change, is creating a ecosystem where the patients can trust that the labs that exist are actually doing what they are saying they're doing and actually are being checked behind the scenes. I would say the second one is a more integrated healthcare. Today, for a patient, you see the life of a patient is so difficult, right? You fall sick, you go to a doctor, you take your records with you, then you go to a hospital, the records are separate. You go to diagnostic center, the records are separate. Everything is separate. The doctors are not necessarily talking to each other. The records are not talking to each other. I think creating an integrated healthcare system where not only you have an EMR for your records, but you have an ability for one doctor to say what you've done with the other doctor.
We can do it. We have digital public infrastructure. Why can't we extend that to health?
The body is the same.
Absolutely.
You're having a liver issue and tomorrow you're having a heart issue. They are connected. They are not completely disconnected. If your doctor who's doing your checking your liver doesn't know what happened with your heart, and if you're relying on the patient to communicate that data, it's never going to happen because that patient doesn't have that information on how to communicate or what to communicate. So I think integrated records, integrated treatments, I think is a very important part of it. The third part of it is what you mentioned is preventive, is really educating the consumers to say, look, how do we avoid falling sick? How do we live how do we build a healthier India? How do we put regulations around the food, water, and the pollution, the air that we breathe? How do we ensure what we're putting in our bodies is true? There's so much of false advertising that happens in our food, in our milk, in everything. And again, there's no enforcement on the ground. So people believe whatever's being sold is true, and it's not, right? So if we can watch what we ingest, if we can check what's happening in our body regularly, I think we'll build a far healthier lifestyle and a healthier India. So these three for sure. The list is very long, but I'll leave it.
And on top of it, there's so much more to be done in healthcare now because everybody's talking about digital health, AI. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've been hearing that AI is going to disrupt healthcare. We're not going to need doctors. Won't need labs. We'll be able to do everything on our own.
I would love to see who this person is and how that's going to happen because, I would love to understand who's going to take the blood, which AI is going to come and take the blood. I would love to see how those tests are going to be done.
Okay.
I think we have to understand what AI is.
Okay.
Right? We're basically just talking about putting algos and logic, trying to, use human intelligence in a way to learn patterns from it and to be able to make decisions on it. I think AI is wonderful and I think it'll do fantastic things in all industries. But is it going to replace doctors? Extremely unlikely. I can tell you the AI tools which are built today, which are being used globally, doctors cannot trust them blindly. Doctors use
That's
them
true of
as
every
screening.
that, you need that medical expertise, that experience to be able to drive that knowledge and the tasks that are associated with it.
So today it's being used for screening. So you can say, okay, rather than a doctor spending their time on 100 images, can we use AI to screen out the 90, which we are sure are normal, and then we'll spend time on the 10 which are abnormal. That is a good use of AI time. But you have to remember that AI also has to be trained on all the use cases. Today, for example, you take a chest x-ray, you're only able to find 40% of the use cases for a chest x-ray, which a human being can pick up. AI can pick up only 40% of them. Now, you tell me as a human being, if you go for a chest x-ray, do you want AI giving you only 40% of what you can find through a human being? Or I prefer a human
How
being.
scary would
How scary is that?
Yeah.
So in healthcare is not about the 19-20. It's not about the 95% accurate. Healthcare is about the 95 to the 100%. Because 95% people will be fine. It's the 95 to the 99.9%, which is the gray, which is where medical expertise matters. An average doctor will not be able to give you the same result of diagnosis or treatment as the doctor who's looking for the 99%. So that's where expertise matters. And we are not at the place today that AI can replicate all of that today. Can it happen in 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 30 years? I'm sure it can. But do I see a world where human beings are gone and AI and machines replace everything? I really don't. I mean, let it first start happening in QSR. Let it happen in banks. Let it happen in QSR. Let it happen in logistics.
and the area that impacts everybody at scale. So, Ameera, there's so much you've already done at Metropolis. What are the next few years of Metropolis going to look like, and what is on the horizon for you?
So we're in a really exciting space because I think, 3, 4 things have happened in the last, I would say, 5, 7 years. Number one, technology has started playing a far more important role in healthcare than we had ever envisaged. Because pre-COVID, there was honestly, technology played a very marginal role in healthcare, but that has radically changed. So it's changed the way we do business. Today, 20-25% of our business comes through digital channels. We're using customer lifecycle management. We're using all kinds of tech tools. We're building AI use cases for non-medical staff. So there's a lot of exciting stuff happening there, which I would say has been a big change, in healthcare. The second big change is that because of COVID, people became more aware. People are saying, look, if I'm going to get pricked, I might as well check everything at one time, etc. So that's another big change that's happened. I would say that we're going to capitalize on these two different areas. So one thing is where, like I mentioned, in 750 cities and towns today, we'll keep going deeper into those markets and we'll go broader. So if in the next 5 years that will reach 1500, for example. So covering every inch of India, and in every inch of India, how do you make sure you're visible, present, and creating access for people? So that's one. I would say the second is, we have about 4,500 varieties of tests on our menu today. Everything globally available, we provide in India. Now that keeps changing. Science is the most fast moving thing. So how do you keep staying a pioneer, keep innovating, keep staying ahead of the curve and bringing the latest of tools and technologies to doctors in India to help diagnose patients better? There are so many diseases we have no diagnostics for today. For
And
example,
people are talking about personalized healthcare as well. So one is these things that, we have no cure for, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're talking about on personalization and genomics.
That's right. So, for example, one is about areas like neurological diseases, dementia, Alzheimer's. You don't have tests for at all. All that will come. The second is to say, look, how do I treat you based on your genome mapping? So, knowing how your, what mutation potentially caused some illness for you will help me then treat you better. For example, in cancer, this is now common. There are some cancers which are genetically transferred, not all. But the ones which are genetically transferred, if I can find the mutation in your body, if I can say, okay, the AB -2 is a problem, I can look for the same mutation in your family. And then we know who in your family has the same mutation. So that means you can catch the cancer much earlier. And catching the cancer earlier is actually the most important thing because then it's life and death. It's a life and death. Then you can turn it. Okay. So genomics, and then you can give treatment and therapy based on what your genome sequence will take best. So I think you're going to see personalized healthcare, well, obviously is already growing. It will continue to grow. So very excited for Metropolis. Organic growth will be good. Margin expansion will happen. We'll do acquisitions as well, which are strategic, selective, good, high quality acquisitions as well. And we continue to be a thought leader in the industry, most important. That I think we set the benchmarks for quality. We set it 20 years ago for bringing in world accreditations into India. We set it 25 years ago for the leading tests and technologies. We set it all these years for talent. So I think continuing to be an industry leader is important.
Ameera Shah, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Wishing you and Metropolis absolutely the very best in making India healthier.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.